Today, as we celebrate Ascension Day, I'm going to bring us just one very short extra reading. It's from Luke 24, 50 to 53, and if you want to look at it on your pew Bibles, it's page 1062, so that's 1062. I couldn't write it on my notes. Okay, so Luke 24, 50 to 53. When he had led them out to the vicinity of Bethany, he is Jesus. When he had led them out to the vicinity of Bethany, he lifted up his hands and blessed them. While he was blessing them, he left them and was taken up into heaven. Then they worshipped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and they stayed continually at the temple praising God. Please pray with me. Jesus, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. Amen. I've said this before, but I believe it's worth saying again. One of the things I really like about being a part of MCC is that we get people from all over the Christianity, faith, spirituality spectrum in our churches. And what that means is in our sermons and our services, we get all sorts of different points of view. So what I say tonight comes from me and my background and my experiences, which will obviously be different to you, your backgrounds and your experiences. Therefore, what I say tonight is from my perspective and not yours. If you don't agree with everything I say, that's fine. We are here to experience God in whatever way God makes that happen for us. And some of the ways I have had my most profound experience of God have been when I have disagreed strongly with what someone else has said. So, with that warning, I quite often start my sermons with something like, I love the story we heard tonight, or tonight's reading is one of my favourites. So I thought I'd switch it up a little tonight and tell you the truth about this reading. I do always tell you the truth, but the truth about this reading is I am so glad it was not me reading it. I find it one of the most difficult passages in the Bible to read. I am not praying for the world, but for those of you who you have given me, for they are yours. It's full of I, they, you, being of the world, not being of the world. I find it very confusing to read. Truth be told, I find it very difficult to understand. So, tonight, I'm going to try and simplify it. I'm going to condense it a little bit, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit into language that I think is slightly easier to understand. First of all, to put it into context, this reading takes place just before Jesus' arrest, and therefore before his crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. Secondly, this is Jesus praying to his parent God. The I talked about is Jesus talking about himself. The you talked about is God the parent, the creator God. And the they talked about is Jesus' followers and disciples. Jesus is saying to God the parent, you and I are of one mind. What's yours is mine and what's mine is yours. And our followers believe that. I'm not going to be here much longer, i.e. I know that I'm going to die, rise and ascend. But our followers will still be here on earth. Now, whilst I'm physically here, I can protect them. Our followers are not the same as the other people who are not our followers. They are intrinsically different because they follow us. But they should not live apart from everyone else, though. However, help them to live well and to not do anything bad. And for me, the last verse is so important. It says, for them I sanctify myself, that they too may be truly sanctified. So for my followers, I make myself holy and sacred, so that they too are holy and sacred. Now, Jesus said this to all of his followers. So, if anyone is a follower of Jesus, he was speaking to them too. So if you follow Jesus, he was speaking to you. So because Jesus made himself holy and sacred, he made every one of his followers holy and sacred too. This is Jesus giving his followers a message for once he is gone. So, shortly after this message, Jesus is arrested, then he's crucified, then he rises from the dead, and then over a period of 40 days, he keeps appearing to his disciples. He walks with them, he sits with them, he talks with them, he eats with them, and then he goes with them to Bethany and blesses them. And while he is blessing them, he is taken up into heaven. You know I like language. I've looked this bit up. And when it says he was taken up, I don't actually think that's a very good translation. It's more accurate to say that he underwent a transformation. And what I think it means is that he went from being a human with his disciples here on earth to being a different form of human in heaven. And I have really struggled with how to explain the ascension tonight and heaven, my view of heaven. So please bear with me a little, as this might seem a little weird for a moment. Now I want you all to visualise something. So if you find it easier to do that with your eyes shut, please shut your eyes if you're comfortable to do so. If you don't need to shut your eyes, then don't. However visualising something is easiest for you, please do that. Now, think of a square. Got it? Now give it form. Give it a third dimension. The square becomes a cube. It hasn't lost its squareness, but it's become something a lot more than a square. It's a cube. Okay, get rid of the cube and think of a circle. Got it? Now give it form. Give it a third dimension. And it becomes a sphere, a ball. It's still circular, but it is more than a circle. It's a sphere. Okay, you can open your eyes now. Well done, Kim. Stayed awake. When Jesus went from being a human on earth to a human in heaven, it's my belief that something similar happened to him. He went from being a three-dimensional human on earth to more. What more? I don't know. But for me, that's what going to heaven is. It's becoming more than being human. So again, for me, when any human goes to heaven, they become more than just human. But before any of that happened, Jesus had spoken with God the parent, the creator. And he had asked God to look out for us, to protect us. Because once he's gone, his followers would be much more vulnerable. And he had said to his followers, us, that we are different to people who don't follow him. But that doesn't mean we should avoid those who don't follow him. It doesn't mean we should live separately. We should be a part of the world, even though we are not of the world. We are holy. We are sacred. And that is something we should share with others, just as he did. Amen.